It's once again time for video games like Blade Runner, a series where I list off, you get the idea. We're on episode 7 and we've covered quite a collection of games so far. And as the first few games on this list felt kind of like footnotes due to how short they were, I've been trying to figure out how best to balance this episode. Originally I was going to cover 2 games in the next episode, but I've now decided to combine them all into this one, and the next episode will focus on one game for the first time ever. But as for the first game on this list, Tales from the Neon Sea. Aside from having a really cool name, in this aesthetically pleasing pixel art game, you'll take the role of Detective Rex, solving crimes, completing puzzles, and learning about your past. Living in a cyberpunk-themed city where humans and robots live together but don't exactly coexist, you'll traverse the stylized surroundings in a 2D platformer fashion, and at one point you can even play as a cat, which obviously makes it 10 out of 10. This is a fairly short game, and beyond the stereotypes of the hard-boiled alcoholic detective, this game's selling point really feels like its aesthetic. Neon Noir. I've covered some small games on this series before, but this game may be one of the smallest of the lot. Developed by Borzon Studios, Neon Noir is a visual novel where you play as a Snatcher, which is, funnily enough, the title of another Blade Runner-like from Kojima, documented in a previous episode, and you'll be investigating crimes in the futuristic metropolis of New Devon in 2169. The game's Steam page only has 3 reviews and a 1-minute trailer, and is listed as the first episode, so there could be the potential for more in the future, but that's pretty much all I have to go on. The art and the vibe look good, and most importantly, Blade Runner-y. ANNO Mutationem, I think that's how it's pronounced. Released in 2022, this game combines the genre of cyberpunk with the platforming of both 2D and 3D. You take the role of Anne Flores, a dangerous person navigating a neon-filled city, battling through hordes of enemies trying to uncover a mysterious past. The way the game combines 2D and 3D makes for a really interesting aesthetic, and you'll be able to interact with the NPCs inhabiting these spaces, as well as exploring some really beautiful, colourful environments, both on the ground and high above, to get a really good view of this world and its Blade Runner-like architecture. We've seen a lot of games that try to infuse the style of cyberpunk with retro pixel art and adding in modern lighting for that extra kick, but I think this may be one of the most beautiful examples of such a thing. Rise of the Dragon. We're going all the way back to a game released in 1990, but set in the year 2053. You take the role of police officer turned detective William Blade Hunter. You can probably see where this is going. You're tasked with investigating the death of the mayor's daughter, which will lead you down a rabbit hole of a new designer drug, which mutates its users. Mostly being a puzzle-based point-and-click, it does also attempt some side-scroller shooting. This game is clearly and unashamedly influenced by Blade Runner. It's even set in Los Angeles, and the old pixel retro-futuristic nature of it lends it more to feeling like the aesthetic from the movie. It also has multiple endings, which in a way is like Blade Runner 2. Cloudpunk. In what looks like the result of a Blade Runner and LEGO crossover, in Cloudpunk you play as Rainer, a delivery driver who flies through the city of Nivalis, a metropolis which is located high above the ground, with the richer of society living higher up, of course. You transport cargo and passengers in work that's less than above board. The game showcases a rather unique, blocky aesthetic through a technique known as voxels. This led me down a bit of a rabbit hole, but apparently a voxel is like a pixel, except instead of being a square it's a 3D cube, and in theory could potentially be the most realistic way of modelling. If you can get the voxels small enough, you can actually mimic subatomic particles. Yeah, this is way above my head, but they look cool in the game. Your character Rainer is a new arrival to the city, having fled her previous home after being pursued by Deck Corps. So it's kind of like if Deckard was a DoorDasher instead of a Blade Runner. Throughout the game you'll be able to make decisions that influence the ending of the game, and even customize your vehicle and apartment. Much like Blade Runner, this is one of those vibes that just feels amazing, cozy even, despite its rather grim outlook. Now it's time for this episode's extra game. It's the long-awaited Ghostrunner. This has been one of those games teetering on the edge of this list. The reservations I had, is it Blade Runner-like, or is it just an aesthetic ancestor of Blade Runner? Like many examples of cyberpunk we see, I'd be interested to know what you think. In many ways, Ghostrunner feels like drinking a shot of the distilled aura of cyberpunk. You play as a neon ninja, It runs along walls and slices enemies apart, set to high-paced electronic music. But ironically, I view this as somewhat of the opposite of Blade Runner, famously considered slow and methodical. Ghostrunner is neither of those things. In this game, you don't play as a human tasked with hunting down dangerous machines. You are the dangerous machine. Set in a cyberpunk post-apocalypse where humanity lives in a giant tower, like we've heard many times before. You are dropped into the action immediately with no context or exposition. You begin slicing weirdly satisfying cross-sections into people attacking you for some reason, and you carry on doing this for the whole game. And of course this wouldn't truly be cyberpunk without a mysterious layer of humanity to discover underneath all those artificial layers. The game features fast respawn points, so you can keep trying again and again and again until you have every jump and slash just right. In doing so, the gameplay loop almost turns you into a machine yourself. So there we have it, episode 7. I still have a number of other video ideas in development, probably almost a year's worth, but more relevant to this video, I'm also working on another Cyberpunk 2077 video, and the next episode of video games like Blade Runner, which will probably be the last of its kind, for a while anyway, which I will explain more in detail in the next video. I also plan on putting them all together in one big omnibus video, but I'm not sure when that will be. But for now, thanks for watching another episode, and hope to see you next time.